Mike Johnson wondered what he would find when he finally reached the home he shared with his wife, Amy, a woman he had not heard from for over a year, even though she knew where he was. As he stared out the window of the cab, he thought back over his life. He lost both his parents at the age of 17 in a tragic auto accident and became an emancipated minor with the support of his next-door neighbor, who happened to be a county social worker. Fortunately, his parents had set up a trust fund to ensure he was well taken care of. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was enough to meet his needs. He was also in great physical shape and played football in high school. He was popular with his classmates because he had his own house, which was paid for with his inheritance, and he was considered an all-around nice guy. His father taught him to be a gentleman to the ladies and how to control his temper. When his father died, he was a hand-to-hand combat instructor and had taught Mike well. Mike graduated high school and went to college at the University of Florida. In his third year of college, he met Amy, who was in her second year. They dated a few times, but he felt like something was missing, so he didn't call her after their third date. About 2 weeks later, she called. "Hey Mike," she said. "What's going on? I haven't heard from you for a while. Is something wrong?" "I don't know, Amy," he said. "I just don't think we're a good fit." "You know that's not true, Mike," she said, disappointed. "I think we're a great fit. Please, can we try again?" "Okay, let me think about it," he said. A week later, he asked her out again. This date was completely different. They had had sex on their previous dates, but this time was so much better. "Wow, baby, that was great," he said after a mind-blowing orgasm. "Where did you learn to do all that, and who did you practice with?" Amy laughed. "My roommate gave me some tips," she said. They continued dating until he graduated with a degree in economics. As they celebrated his graduation that night, he asked her to marry him, and she said yes. The wedding was set to take place after her graduation. He stayed in the area so he could remain close to Amy and got a job with a local investment firm. They married in March 2001. At the time, he was 22, and Amy was 21. Things were going great for them, but the world changed that September. On September 12, 2001, he joined the Army. Thanks in large part to his father's training and his constant practice of martial arts, he became a ranger. During this time, they made a great couple and were happy newlyweds. He kept the house he had inherited from his parents in Columbus, and the two stayed there. Amy was able to get a job as a paralegal in town. By the time his training was complete, the U.S. was neck-deep in Iraq, and he was shipped off for a 12-month tour. A month into that tour, he was promoted to sergeant and made a squad leader. After that tour, he came home, but 9 months later, he was ordered to Iraq for another 12-month tour. By now, he had re-enlisted and was promised a duty station of his choice. Upon returning from Iraq, predictably, Amy wasn't happy. "Why do you have to go back?" she asked. "I need you here with me." "I'm sorry," he said. "I've been given orders. I want to stay here with you too, but I don't have a choice in the matter." He held her as she cried into his shoulder. "After this tour, I'm supposed to be able to choose my next assignment," he told her, hoping it was a promise he would be able to keep. They made love well into the morning. What Mike didn't know was that this would be the last time he would be with her sexually. 3 days later, he was in Iraq. For the first month, he got a letter from Amy every other day. He called when he could and always wrote back, but after that first month, he received only one letter in the next 6 months and had only been able to talk to her twice on the phone. What the hell is going on, he wondered. After nearly 8 months with virtually no contact from Amy, he was worried but couldn't do anything about it. So he did what many others did and counted the days until his tour was finished. On a Tuesday morning, his Humvee hit an IED, killing 4 of the soldiers in the vehicle. As a result of the blast, he lost his lower left leg. 3 hours after the attack, a chopper was able to land and evacuate all the casualties. They patched his leg up as best they could and sent him to Ramstein, Germany, for more surgeries and rehab. After spending 3 months in Germany, he was shipped to Walter Reed Hospital for more surgery, additional rehab, and a prosthetic limb. It took an extra 2 months to learn how to walk with his prosthetic. Afterwards, he was given a medical discharge and released to go home. Despite his best efforts, he heard nothing from his wife. By now, it had been more than a year since he had any contact with her at all. Was she even alive? He asked himself. And if she was, why the hell didn't she contact me? He had tried calling her parents but wasn't able to get any answers. He called his home and left messages. At least he still had power at his house, so someone must be there. It was about 9:30 a.m. when the taxi pulled up in front of the house where they lived. His truck was still in the driveway, along with her car. He also noticed several other cars parked along the curb. The cab driver helped him carry his duffel bag to the door after he maneuvered his large 6 feet 2 inches frame out of the small car. He heard noises from the front room and wondered what was going on. He carefully opened the door and walked into the living room, where he got the shock of his life. There on the floor was a barely recognizable Amy, being gangbanged by 6 men. He took out his cell phone and began taking pictures of the scene. The men, realizing they had been caught, grabbed their clothes and ran out the door. Mike recognized them as he had seen them on base before, and 2 of the men had rotated to the States when he arrived in Iraq for his second tour. Amy lay on the floor, not recognizing him. She actually asked if he wanted to join in since the others had left. "Are you kidding me?" he shouted. "So this is what you've been doing the last 13 months? Is this why you couldn't be bothered to write or answer my calls? I get myself blown up and lose a leg, and you're screwing everyone in town? Get the hell out of my house. You have 10 minutes to pack up and get out." That's when she recognized him. She got off the floor and reached out to him, but he backed away. "Keep your filthy, cheating paws off me, you witch," he ordered. She backed away, scared. "Please, Mike, let me explain," she begged. "This isn't what you think." "Are you kidding me right now?" he asked. "I haven't heard from you for over a year, and when I finally get home, I find you getting banged on the floor by 6 men. There's nothing to explain. Pack your things and get out." After saying that, he had another thought. He went to their bedroom and pulled her clothes out of the closet, including her wedding dress, and tossed them out the window. Going to her purse, he pulled out the ATM card for their joint account and the credit card they shared. He also took the house key off her key ring. He went outside, pulling out his lighter. "What are you doing?" Amy asked, scared. "You have 10 minutes to pack your things and leave, or I'm burning everything," he said. "Now move." Amy ran through the house trying to get her things together. Mike kept track of the elapsed time on his watch. She got the last item off the ground just as Mike was getting ready to set the remaining stuff on fire. "Where will I go?" she asked through her tears. "Right now, I don't give a flying damn," he said. "As far as I'm concerned, you can go and rot in hell. Just tell me where you're staying so I'll know where to send the divorce papers. Please, Mike, you have to believe me. This is the only time it's ever happened. It was an accident. It didn't mean anything," she pleaded. Mike, however, wasn't buying it. "I haven't heard from you in months. What I saw in that house definitely wasn't the first time for you. I may have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. Now go, God damn it." Amy sobbed as she pulled out of the driveway and left. Mike watched as she left and then went back inside, devastated. By now, he was exhausted, both physically and emotionally, and collapsed on the couch. His leg hurt, and he couldn't believe what she had done to him. He lost track of time, and before he knew it, the sun was beginning to set. He got up and looked around the kitchen, hoping to find something to eat when the phone rang. "Hello?" he said, answering the phone. "Mike, what the hell is wrong with you?" asked an angry female voice on the other end. He recognized it as Julie, Amy's older sister. "Why did you kick Amy out of the house?" asked Julie. "Ask her," Mike said. "Have her tell you why I did." Julie said, "She said you didn't like the way the house looked and told her to get out." "That's Julie," Mike said. "And I think you know it. If you want the truth, come by my house and I'll show you," he said. He heard nothing on the other end for a few moments. "Okay, Mike, I'll come by, but this had better be good," she said before hanging up. He knew it would be a while before she got to his house, so he sat down at his computer and turned it on. After it finished booting up, he decided to check Amy's email. Amy wasn't too bright about things like passwords, and she had one of those web-based email services, so he was in her email in pretty short order. He decided to slow Amy down a bit and changed her password so she couldn't delete anything. He knew that eventually, she would get it reset, but not before he had his evidence. It only took him a few minutes of browsing her emails to realize this had been going on for quite some time, perhaps during his entire tour in Iraq. The emails he saw were quite explicit, and many of them had pictures or videos attached. "Hey cutie," one email read. "Had a great time last night. You're one hot woman." The email had 2 pictures attached, so he brought them up and printed them out. The picture showed Amy with men having sex. The email was dated 1 week after he left for Iraq. There were many more just like this. "Just wait till your stupid hick husband comes back," another email read. "We'll give him a hot welcoming party. LOL. That email had a video showing Amy being engaged in sexual activities with multiple men simultaneously. It was dated the day he was wounded in Iraq. By the time Julie showed up, he had printed off nearly a ream of emails and a large pile of photos. The videos were saved in a folder. He noticed the same 6 men were featured in most of the photos and videos. He answered the door, making sure Julie was alone. She didn't look very happy. "All right, Mike, spill it." "What's going on?" she asked, her face red with anger. He pulled out his phone and showed her the pictures. "This is what I walked into when I got home," he said. Her face turned white as she looked at the photos he had taken. "Oh my God. There's more," he said, throwing down the pictures. Julie looked through the photos, shocked. "Did you know about all this?" she asked. She shook her head. "God's honest truth, I had no idea. I knew she was going out a lot, but I didn't know about this." "She never said anything to you?" Mike asked. "Julie, did she say anything to you about me being wounded?" Julie shook her head. "Wounded?" she asked, surprised. "When did you get wounded?" "About 6 months ago," he said. "Lost part of a leg. I've been in surgery and rehab for months, and I never heard anything from her. Now I know why." "I'm sorry, Mike. She never said anything about it. She's hardly mentioned you at all over the last several months. Probably too busy getting drilled to even care. She didn't even recognize me when I came in the door." "So what are you going to do?" Julie asked. "I'm divorcing her." "Is there any way you can forgive her and work past this?" "You've got to be kidding me. There's no way I can ever get past this, and something tells me I'm just scratching the tip of the iceberg. No, we're finished. I understand, Mike. I'm really very sorry about all this. I'm going to give her a piece of my mind when I see her." She wrapped her arms around him. "If there's anything I can ever do, let me know, okay?" "Thanks, Julie." "I appreciate that," he said. He locked the door after she left and went back to the computer to see what else he could dig up. By the time the clock struck midnight, he had printed off all the incriminating emails and saved hundreds of photos and videos. Looking at the timeline, he could see that Amy's cheating had begun early in his first tour in Iraq and had been happening about once a week the whole time he was gone. He also managed to identify all 6 men involved in her affairs. He learned that all of them were active duty, and based on what they wrote, he was able to identify the units they belonged to and get an idea of the days they went out clubbing. Additionally, he found that all 6 men Amy had been with were married, and a couple of them had young children. He made a note of their addresses and contact information. He regretted that the children would be affected, but he wasn't going to let the men off the hook just because they had families. He filed that information away and lay down on the futon in his office to get a few hours of sleep. The next day would be very busy. He woke up before the sun came up and did his morning routine. Getting dressed, he mapped out the day's activities. First on his list was to get an appointment with a good divorce attorney. He looked through the phone book and started making calls. After speaking to a couple of firms, he was able to get an appointment that morning. Looking at his watch, he realized he didn't have a lot of time before the appointment, so he went to the bank and closed out their joint accounts, reopening an account in his name only. He knew he would probably have to give her half of their money, so he got a cashier's check for the full amount. His inheritance and trust fund were in accounts that Amy had no access to, so he left those alone. He closed out their joint credit card and applied for one in his name only, paying off the balance on the other card. Once done, he headed out to see his attorney. He walked in carrying a folder full of emails and photos and checked in with the receptionist. He had just poured a cup of coffee when an attractive woman came out from the back and introduced herself. "Mr. Johnson," she asked, extending her hand. He shook her hand and introduced himself. "Please, call me Mike," he said. She smiled and ushered him into her office. "Thank you, Mike. Please call me Sally. I understand you're seeking a divorce, is that right?" "Yes, it is," he said. She looked at him intently for a few minutes. "You know, I don't represent cheating spouses," she said. Mike placed the folder on her desk. "Sally, I've been in Iraq and in the hospital recovering from combat wounds for several months. I am not the one cheating, as these emails and photos show." She looked at the folder, picked it up, and thumbed through the thick pile of papers, shaking her head. "Oh my, this is extremely incriminating. How did you get these emails and photos?" "Well, my soon-to-be ex-wife used my computer for her correspondence, and they like to send photos and videos back and forth." "You have videos as well?" she asked. "Yes, I do," he replied. "And I came home to this yesterday." He pulled out his phone and showed her the photos he took in his house. Her eyes widened. They went over the evidence and the details of the divorce, and by the time the meeting was over, Sally agreed to file for divorce on the grounds of adultery, naming the 6 men Amy had been involved with for the last 2 years. "So, once we file, we'll get her served, and she'll have 30 days to respond. If she doesn't respond, we can have the final decree granted immediately. If she contests it, it may take a bit longer. Since you owned the house before you got married, she has no claim on it, and the same goes for your inheritance and trust fund. If she wants to fight it, we can use the photos and videos. Hopefully, she'll simply sign the papers and it'll be a done deal. We can have her served either at her work or at her sister's apartment, if she's still there." "That would be great," Mike said. He thanked her and left the office, feeling better since he first got home the previous day. After he got home, he called the locksmith to have the locks changed on the house and began calling the wives of the men Amy had been involved with. Needless to say, they were all furious. Most of them had suspected something was going on but didn't know what. They all asked for evidence, and Mike was more than happy to email photos and videos along with copies of some of their emails. He made a few more calls and met some of his comrades at a bar on the edge of town. They looked at some of the photos he brought and shook their heads. They also knew the 6 men involved and discussed possible options. As they talked, one of the 6, a big guy named John Abrams, came stumbling into the bar. George, one of Mike's friends, pointed him out. They looked and turned back to their beers, but not before the guy recognized Mike and staggered over to him, full of bravado. Well, he said loudly, "if it ain't Sergeant Johnson. How's your wife these days?" "Is she still stretched out from my action?" he asked, grabbing his crotch. Mike said nothing, prompting the guy to push the issue. "What are you, a scumsucker as well as a ranger? Come on, big ranger dude, let's see what you've got." He made the mistake of taking a swing at Mike, his fist glancing off the top of Mike's head. Mike responded by putting the guy down on the floor in seconds without breaking a sweat. Enraged, he began pummeling the man's face, breaking his nose and leaving a few teeth on the floor. The next thing Mike knew, he was being pulled off the man by 2 police officers who slapped handcuffs on him and threw him in the back of a police cruiser. The other man was loaded into an ambulance and taken to an emergency room. Mike spent a few hours in jail before an officer came to his holding cell. "Today's your lucky day, soldier," the officer said. "Witnesses said you acted in self-defense, and surveillance video proved it, so you get to go home tonight with no charges." Mike went home and went to sleep. The next day, he got a call from one of his friends. "Hey, did you see the news?" George asked. "No, I just got up." "What's up?" "Seems there was a rash of muggings last night. 5 soldiers ended up in the hospital with various injuries. It's in the paper." "Isn't that a shame?" "Yeah, that's terrible news, Mike said sarcastically. Anyone we know? Yeah, they just so happen to be the other 5 guys screwing Amy. Isn't that quite a coincidence? Yeah, that is quite a coincidence, Mike said, smiling. Later that day, Mike got a visit from his former regimental commander and the sergeant major, a man who made Sam Elliott's character in We Were Soldiers look downright friendly by comparison. He opened the door and invited them in, offering them something to drink. No thanks, Sergeant, the colonel said. We just wanted to stop by for a few minutes to see how things are going. Could be better, all things considered, Colonel. Please, call me Mike. I'm not a soldier anymore, he added, tapping his prosthetic leg. I understand, and I do apologize, the colonel said. Not your fault, Colonel. You didn't plant that IED, Mike said. They all laughed at that. I understand you're going through a divorce. I got a call from your lawyer who said your wife's been involved with 6 active duty soldiers. That's right, Colonel. I have names, addresses, you name it. You want them? Yes, Mike. That would be helpful, the colonel said. Mike went into his office and brought out a folder. He handed the colonel a sheet with the men's names and addresses. Would you like pictures as well? Mike asked. I have pictures, videos, everything. It seems they got a kick out of emailing the stuff back and forth to each other. And yes, they knew she was my wife. They deliberately did it while I was overseas in a combat zone. And yes, they're all married. You've done your homework, I see, the colonel said. Yes, sir, I have. I've also done some checking online, and I know that adultery is covered under Article 134, Paragraph 62 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. From what I've read, there are 3 basic elements of proof, and I believe all 6 of these cases meet those elements. I see. You may very well be right. From what you've said and shown us here, I'll take a look at this and push it through JAG to see what they say. If they agree, I think we can make a case to have them all dishonorably discharged. Also, Colonel, one of them attacked me last night in a public bar. He ended up in the hospital. The colonel nodded. Personally, I'd expect nothing less. But officially, you didn't hear that from me, he said with a smile. So, what are your plans for the future? The colonel asked. Well, Colonel, I haven't had much time to think about that. I have an economics degree, but I don't think I'd ever be happy pushing a pencil again. The colonel smiled. Why didn't you go for OCS? With your record, you would have been a shoo-in. My dad was an NCO, and I always wanted to be where the action was, Mike said. The colonel nodded, and the sergeant major smiled. I knew your dad when he was a hand-to-hand combat instructor. Damn good man. I know he'd be proud of you no matter what you decide to do. He stood and put his hat back on. The sergeant major joined him. He extended his hand, and Mike shook it. You take care of yourself, Sergeant. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Mike nodded. Thank you, Colonel. He watched as the 2 men left. Mike spent the day puttering around the house, doing mostly busy work, just stuff to keep him from thinking about Amy. That evening, he popped open a beer and spent the night watching television, his mind wandering over his failed marriage. The next day, he got a call from someone at Amy's place of work telling him that she had been served with divorce papers. Is it true? The female voice asked. Mike recognized the voice. It was Amanda, one of Amy's friends at the law firm where she worked. He always thought she was quite attractive and had nice legs, but he had never said anything. Is what true? Mike asked. That she cheated on you while you were in Iraq. The process server was very clear that she was being divorced for adultery. We all heard him. Yeah, it's true. It's been going on for over 2 years, and you never knew, Mike said. Oh my God, you poor man. I'm so sorry. Well, listen, sugar, if there's anything we can do for you, just call, okay? I do mean anything. We think the world of you and we hate what she did to you. Thanks, Amanda. I appreciate that, Mike said. Later that day, he got a call from Linda Abrams, John Abrams' wife. Hey Mike, do you have a few minutes to talk? Yeah, sure. What's up? Well, I learned about what my a-hole of a husband did to you and Amy, and I'd like to get some revenge if you're up for it, she said. Mike smiled. He knew Linda and thought she was a beautiful woman. He couldn't understand why John would cheat on her. He listened to her plan and had to smile. This would be fun, he thought. When do you want to do this? He asked. Tonight, if you're free. I'd like you to come by around 4:30 or 5 o'clock this evening so I can feed you dinner first and get everything set up. You're on, Mike said. I'll see you this evening. A bit later, he got another call, this time from Amy. Mike, she sobbed, I got served with divorce papers today. Can't we work through this? I told you it was only the one time and it was an accident. Mike laughed. You stupid witch, he growled. I happen to know that it was much more than a one-time thing. Just sign the papers and it'll be over in a month. Otherwise, it may get very public, and you don't want that. Damn you, she said, her tone changing. I'll fight you every step of the way. I'll take your house and everything you own. I don't think so, Mike said. Call my lawyer and then sign the papers. He hung up and blocked her number. That afternoon, he went to Linda's house and parked in the middle of their driveway, just as she suggested. He knocked on the door, and she opened it wearing a short, ripped t-shirt and a tiny pair of ripped Daisy Duke shorts that showed off her figure. She wrapped her arms around Mike and kissed him deeply while grinding her crotch into his. Like what you see, soldier? She asked seductively. God, yes. You're beautiful. John was an idiot for cheating on you. Yes, he was, and he's going to find out just how big of an idiot he was. Come on in. I have dinner cooked up. Mike entered the house and smelled chicken fried steak. His mouth watered as he thought about what was about to happen. This is delicious, Mike said as he finished the meal she had dished out to him. Just wait until we have dessert, she said, grabbing his hand. She took him upstairs. Linda had placed a chair in the bedroom, positioned just right, and put Mike behind the door. She had a pile of zip ties and a couple of rolls of duct tape on the dresser. After they went over their plan, they heard the front door open. Linda put her finger over her mouth. I'm home, John shouted from the front room. Whose truck is that in the driveway? I can't get in the garage. I'm sorry, hon, I asked Mike Johnson to come over and give me a hand with something that broke. I didn't want to bother you at work. Could you please come upstairs? We could use your help. Mike Johnson, he asked as he came up the stairs. Why did you call him? Oh, no reason really. I just thought he could help. You don't mind, do you? She asked. No, I guess not, he said, following her into the bedroom. As soon as he entered the room, Mike slammed the door shut and punched him in the throat. He followed that up with a punch to the gut. John didn't know what hit him, and by the time he could react, Mike and Linda had him in the chair and zip-tied his legs. His arms were also zip-tied to the chair. What the hell is going on? He yelled when he was able to catch his breath. Linda stood in front of him, her hands on her hips. I learned that you and your buddies have been screwing around with Amy Johnson for the last 2 years or more, a-hole. I also know all about your attack on Mike at the bar the other night, so I decided to get some revenge. She tore off her top and held her breasts up for him. Like this? She asked. Well, guess what? You're never touching them again. Please, Linda, don't do this, John begged. Shut up, a-hole. I'm just getting started. She kicked off her tennis shoes, then pulled her shorts down and kicked them off. Linda, no, don't. John begged, shaking his head. Why not, a-hole? She asked. You've been screwing around on me for years while I've been taking care of your bum, cleaning the house, washing your dirty laundry, and cooking for you while working a part-time job. All that time, I've been faithful to you, and this is how you repay me. Screw you. You're going to sit there and watch me get drilled, and then you're out of here. Don't make me tape your mouth shut. John looked down at the floor, defeated. Linda turned to Mike and practically ripped his clothes off. After she took his trousers off, Mike looked down at her uncertainly. She had never seen a man with a prosthetic leg before. She ran her hands over it for a couple of minutes before looking up at him. If it bothers you, we don't have to do this, he said. Linda smiled up at him and pulled down his boxers. You may be missing part of a leg, but you're more of a man than that a-hole will ever be, she said, glancing at John. She kissed Mike and proceeded to have sex with him. Oh God, that feels so good, she moaned as she rode into another orgasm. That's it, she said. Linda got off the bed and didn't bother cleaning herself up. She grabbed an envelope out of her nightstand drawer and dropped it in John's lap. As Mike cuts the zip ties, you've been served, a-hole. Now get your stuff and get out of here. I've already packed it up for you. There's also a restraining order, and you'd better obey it. Otherwise, I'll have you thrown in jail. Got it? John nodded quietly and took his duffel bag and the suitcase Linda had prepared. Defeated, he left the house. After John left, Linda buried her head in Mike's shoulder and cried. He held her, kissing her head. It'll be all right, he said. She nodded. It won't be easy, but I'll manage. I've already split our accounts, and with my job, I'll be able to cover the bills for a little while. But I'm eventually going to have to sell the house. Linda, if it comes to that, you can come stay with me, Mike said. She nodded. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Please stay here with me tonight, she begged. Mike agreed, and the two made love well into the morning. Things didn't go well with the divorce at first. Amy decided to fight it, claiming that her 6-man gangbang was just a one-time thing. After a little more than 6 weeks, Sally called for a conference with Mike, Amy, and her attorney, Bill Green. They gathered in a conference room at Sally's office, and Amy's attorney started speaking right away, suggesting the two go to counseling to help Mike get past what he called Amy's one-time mistake. Sally shook her head and stopped Amy's attorney. She pulled out a ream of emails and photos and threw them on the table. Amy and her attorney looked at the pile of paper, shocked. Bill, let me cut through the crap, Sally said. My client has evidence, in your client's own words, photos, and videos, of multiple sex parties with the same 6 men going back over 2 years. By our estimate, your client has done this over 100 times while her husband was in Iraq. I've seen your client's sworn response, and I want to warn you that if you persist in this, we'll have no choice but to charge your client with perjury and ask for the maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. Now, if you decide to withdraw your response and have your client sign Mr. Johnson's initial proposal, we'll forget about the perjury. Well, look, Sally, you know as well as I do that criminal prosecution for perjury in divorce cases is rare. Your threats won't work here. Do you really want to take that chance? Bill asked. Sally replied, it may be rare, but it does happen. And with the proof we have, I think a judge would see it our way. Bill shook his head. Mike leaned into Sally and whispered something in her ear. She nodded before speaking. Why don't we do this? My client says he'd like to speak with Amy for a few minutes alone. He assures me you won't get out of line. I suggest we let them have this time to work things out. Bill listened as Amy spoke to him quietly. After she finished, he nodded. Okay, but we'll be right outside the door. After they left, Amy looked at Mike. All right, what are you planning? She said defiantly. Mike picked up the pile of emails and photos and began throwing the photos in front of her. Her eyes widened as he did so. Then he pulled out a photo of her from his wallet. Do you know what got me through those 2 tours in Iraq? He asked. He pointed at his photo, now yellow with age. It had been taken shortly before he enlisted. This. And then, when I didn't hear anything from you, I began thinking the worst. I honestly thought you had gotten hurt or worse. Then when I came home and found you banging those 6 a-holes, I nearly lost it. You can imagine how I felt when I looked in your email and found all this. You might as well have put a bullet in my head. At least that would have been more merciful. Amy began tearing up as he talked, but he wasn't finished. He tossed out an email he had printed and began reading the thread. Hey babes, did you get that little problem taken care of? He looked at her, then read her reply. Yes, I went to the abortion clinic yesterday. I should be okay for next week's party. He looked at her with hate in his eyes. You had an abortion, Amy? Why? Why did you do it? Was I not man enough for you? She shook her head. Yes, you were, she said through her tears. I just missed you so much, and then when I met the guys at the club, they made me feel good and I forgot about how much I missed you. Well, you just screwed up 7 families, counting ours. Do you know that? He asked. You didn't just screw up our family, you destroyed theirs as well. Some of those guys had children. Did you know that? She shook her head. No, I didn't. What did you think was going to happen when I got back? Clap my hands and brag about how big a whore you are, he asked. She was sobbing by now. I'm sorry, she said through her tears. I didn't mean to hurt you. Well, you did. Look, I happen to know the girls in your office hate your guts and hate what you did. I also know the 6 a-holes are all getting divorced and are facing discharge from the army. I happen to know they're all going to be getting other than honorable discharges, which is something that'll follow them their entire lives. On top of that, there are 6 very pissed off wives out there who also hate your guts. He put the papers back in a stack before looking at her. You know damn well that Sally will pursue formal charges of perjury against you. In this state, you can get up to 10 years in prison for that, and you'll probably never work in a law firm again. Even if you do get off easy, you'll probably have to spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Believe me, those wives are very angry with you right now and would probably love to do to you what was done to their husbands. She looked at him in shock. What are you saying, Mike? She asked. Are you threatening me? Did you have something to do with those guys getting mugged? No, the only one I put down was that a-hole John when he wanted to rub it in my face, and that was after he took a swing at me. I'm not threatening you at all, just letting you know the lay of the land. Look, just sign the papers and end this now. Can we ever be friends? She asked. Mike shook his head. I don't think so. After what you've done, it'll be a long time before I can stand to be around you. She wiped her eyes after he spoke and looked down, defeated. Okay, she said quietly. Mike got up and opened the door, letting the lawyers back in. Well, have we come to an agreement? Bill asked. Amy nodded. She looked at Sally. I've decided that I don't want any spousal support. Mike only gets a small pension from the army, and he needs that. I make enough to support myself. I just want to finish this. Mike was shocked. He wasn't expecting this. Sally nodded. Okay, let me make this one change and I'll need you to initial it. Bill looked at Amy, surprised. Are you sure about this? He asked. Did he threaten you with something? No, Bill. I just want this over with. Sally came back with the amended paperwork and an assistant who happened to be a notary. Mike and Amy signed every place they were told to. She began sobbing when she signed a line that said she had to revert to her maiden name. After they were finished, Mike held out his hand tearfully. Amy took off her rings and handed them to him. He took off his wedding ring and handed it to her. Maybe you can be faithful to the next man you decide to marry. There are still a few of your things at the house if you want them. I'll bring them by Saturday. That would be fine. Thanks, Sally. Bill stood up and shook hands. I'll withdraw my client's response and meet you at the courthouse to file this today. Sally nodded. I'll see you there, she said. Bill and Amy left the room, and Mike collapsed in his chair, happy that it was finally over. Sally looked at him for a moment. What did you tell her, really? She asked. Mike looked at her. I just reminded her of the truth and the consequences of her actions. There are 7 families destroyed because of this. That's why I never represent cheaters. You're a good man, Mike Johnson. You'll do well. Just stay out of trouble, okay? He smiled. I will, Sally. Thanks. He left the office and headed home, stopping on the way to grab a 6-pack of beer. He called Linda's cell and gave her the news. Come on by the house tonight, soldier, and I'll help you celebrate. You got it, babe, he said, smiling. That Saturday, Mike loaded up the few things he had left of Amy's and headed for her sister's apartment, where she had been staying. Julie answered the door when Mike rang the bell. Hi, Mike, she said. I brought the rest of Amy's things over, he said. Well, the next time I see her, I'll get an address and send it, she said. What do you mean? Amy left. She quit her job the day you guys signed your papers and left that night. Just packed up her stuff and took off. I don't know where she's going, but I think she's leaving the state. Okay, well, if you talk to her, tell her I dropped this off. Julie took what Mike brought over and thanked him. A few weeks later, Julie told Mike that Amy had fled clear across the country and was now living somewhere in Washington or Oregon. The 6 men she cheated with were all given discharges that were other than honorable. They also fled the area to parts unknown. Mike wondered if they hooked back up with Amy, but he really didn't care. He married Linda shortly after their divorces were finalized. It turned out that she got pregnant the night they got revenge on John. They've since had 2 more children and are doing well. Mike was offered a job as a researcher for something called the Homefront Security Task Force and still works there. The pay is good, the benefits are great, and he has access to information most people would kill for. Better yet, he's able to work from home but sometimes has to fly to a place called Fort Apache. He was looking through the day's mail and opened a thick envelope when his work phone rang. Mike Johnson, he said, answering the call. Hey Mike, this is Oscar. How are things going? The man at the other end asked. Going great, Oscar. How about you? Mike asked. Living the dream, Oscar said. Hey, I just wanted to thank you for your work on the Gags case. It was invaluable. Thanks. Look, I know accolades in this business are few and far between, but Bill wanted me to make sure you got those tickets to Cancun. I just got them today, Mike said. Good. I'll let Bill know. Make sure you and that pretty wife of yours have a good time. Mike smiled. Oh yeah, we will. Thanks again. He hung up the phone and looked at the tickets. Talk about perfect timing. Their anniversary was coming up, and he was looking forward to seeing his wife in her new bikini on the beach. Oh yes, he thought, they will indeed have a good time. Story 2. I had a good and happy life. I always thought about how lucky I was with my wife, Grace. She was an amazing woman, and together we raised a wonderful son, Charlie, who was already 18 years old. We lived in a beautiful private house. I always dreamed of a private house. I never liked apartments. And I fulfilled my dream by buying this house. I worked as a jeweler. I was skilled in handling jewelry. I loved this delicate work very much, and I never thought of doing anything else, especially since it brought in good money. I inherited this job from my father, who taught me the trade. How disappointed I was when I realized that my son didn't want to pursue the same path. He chose a different profession, one that also required great responsibility and precision. He wanted to become a surgeon. I didn't blame him for his choice. Soon, I stopped being upset about it because I realized that I wanted my son to be happy. If he decided to become a surgeon, then so be it. His education was expensive and lengthy, but fortunately, I had the means to pay for it all. So now Charlie was studying at a very prestigious institution in another city, performing well and showing great promise. My wife worked for an organization that provided various job opportunities for different people. It was very convenient, as people didn't have to search for jobs on their own. They could come here, discuss their work priorities, and then a specialist would suggest a list of the most suitable vacancies. And one day, she approached me with an unusual proposition. Jack, listen, I wanted to discuss something with you. Yes, Grace, what happened? I remember how disappointed you were when Charlie didn't want to learn your trade. Yes, that was a family business, but I respect his choice anyway. Why do you bring it up? Just because a guy came to my work. I want to tell you that he's very talented. I know you didn't want to train anyone, but I think you'll like him. His name is William. Are you serious? Why do I need this? I still don't want to take anyone for training. Jack, I'm serious. You'll easily get along with this guy. You'll like him. After all, I know you secretly want this. Sweetheart, I don't even know. I'm content now, everything is going well. Jack, you need to pass on your mastery. I saw this guy, and I realized he's the most suitable option for you. He's a worthy person. He can learn everything from you. I don't know, Grace, I don't know. Thanks for the offer, but I'm not ready for this. I understand that you want to do what's best, but I don't think I need this right now. Jack, think it over. It's an excellent opportunity for you. I'm sure you won't regret it. Okay, Grace, I'll think about it. Grace persistently urged me to accept the young man. Initially, I saw nothing suspicious about it, but there was still something peculiar. She was very insistent. I pondered over it for some time. Eventually, I decided to meet William. He was a pleasant young man, quite youthful. However, when I spoke with him, I also saw potential in him. I ultimately took him on as my apprentice. William diligently absorbed everything I taught him. His effort was evident. After some time, William became almost like a second son to me. He visited us quite often, and I got used to him. Everything was going well for us. I truly felt that I had found a successor for my business. However, soon I began to notice unusual things. One day, I noticed empty wine bottles on the kitchen counter at home. This surprised me because Grace rarely drank alcohol. Grace, hi. Who came over while I wasn't home? I asked. Hi, Jack. Cindy dropped by, and we spent some time together. She replied. Cindy? Haven't seen her in a while. Did you guys have a drink? Yes, we decided to have a couple of glasses. It seems like you had quite a good time here. Yes, we talked for a long time since we hadn't seen each other in a while, and the wine was flowing like water. But you don't usually drink much, and now you decided to have so much? With amazement, I continued to ask questions. I don't know what came over me. But we definitely had fun. I see. I noticed something strange in Grace's behavior. She seemed different, and I couldn't understand the reason. Something was definitely happening. Grace started going somewhere in the evenings. She began to dress brightly and wear vibrant makeup. Her appearance started to change. It worried me. The next incident left me in shock. One day, I pulled a bag of trash out of the bin and was about to throw it away when I noticed some packaging behind the trash can. It seemed Grace missed the bin, and this packaging fell nearby. I picked up this small box, intending to throw it in the bag with the rest of the garbage. Suddenly, I saw that it was a package for a medical product. It was birth control pills. But why were they here? Grace had never used them, and we hadn't been intimate for a long time. I was shocked. It was all very strange and unclear. I needed to get to the bottom of it. Grace, tell me honestly, are you hiding something from me? Jack, what do you mean? Grace replied with surprise. I found an empty pack of birth control pills near the trash can. What does all this mean? I asked. Darling, don't worry. If you're thinking that I'm cheating on you, it's not true. The doctor prescribed these pills for hormonal balance. With barely perceptible concern, my wife answered me. What nonsense is this? With disbelief, I said. Jack, it's not nonsense. The female body undergoes many biochemical processes, and sometimes there are glitches. These pills help me in my case. I didn't make it up, I bought them with a doctor's prescription, she continued. Okay, where's the prescription then? And why didn't you tell me that you were having some problems? I sensed the falseness in her voice and decided to continue my questioning. I don't remember where the prescription is. I bought these pills a long time ago. I decided not to bother you. It was just minor women's issues, there's nothing for you to worry about. Grace continued her excuses. Grace, forgive me, but everything you're saying sounds very strange. I also noticed that you've changed. You've started wearing brighter clothes and putting on more makeup. And these evening outings of yours completely confused me. Jack, I don't have to stay home all the time. I'm telling you the truth. In the evening, I just take a stroll. I'm not doing anything wrong. Why don't you ever take me with you? Don't you think it's odd? Jack, I had a hormonal imbalance. It took me some time to get back to normal. The doctor gave me some advice to improve my mental state, as due to this hormonal imbalance, I constantly had a bad mood and apathy. Evening walks help a lot. But it's easier for me to be alone with my thoughts. That's why I take a walk alone. She continued her excuses. For a solitary walk, you dress too brightly and put on makeup. You weren't like this before. I see that something has changed. And I'm worried about it. Jack, there's no need to worry about anything. Everything is fine. I just decided to change my style a bit. I understand it may seem strange from your perspective, but I assure you there's nothing to worry about. Grace, if something like this is happening to you, it's more than serious. Let's find doctors. Find a way to treat it. With concern, I said. Jack, I already said there's nothing particularly serious here. Everything should return to normal after some time. Okay, but why do I feel like you're not telling me everything? I decided to voice my suspicions to her. Jack, I'm tired of explaining to you. I'm not hiding anything from you. I'm not lying to you. There are no problems. It's like you're trying to come up with a reason to argue with me. She replied. I'm not making anything up. Any normal husband would have suspected infidelity by now. And I'm no exception. If someone has appeared in your life, tell me right away. I need to know, Grace. I said, making it clear that I was no fool and would not endlessly believe her excuses. Jack, darling, it seems like help is needed not only for me. What's with this paranoia you've developed? I love only you, and I don't need anyone else. We've been together for so long. I don't need anyone else. Why would I need all this? My wife replied, making a surprised face. Maybe you're just tired of the monotonous life? Tired of me? We're having a serious conversation now, and I don't have any paranoia. I just want to be sure about you. But everything points to the fact that you're not telling me everything. Jack, don't talk such nonsense. I don't understand what I've done to deserve such mistrust. You're making things up on the spot. You say I've changed a lot. But look at yourself. You've become different too. Now you're reproaching your wife for goodness knows what. It's just awful, Jack. I looked at Grace and didn't recognize her. Each new phrase of hers simply amazed me. I hadn't spoken openly to her for a long time, so the more I tried to reach her, the more I saw that she was not sincere with me. She spoke superficially, as if she didn't care about my experiences at all. She constantly twisted everything. I no longer knew what to believe. It was all too confusing. It pained me to think that Grace might have had a lover, but I couldn't get rid of these thoughts. I didn't know what to do next. I didn't want to become a maniac and watch my wife's every move. But what could I do? I sometimes went on business trips. And when I came home, I noticed strange things. Either my robe was hanging in a different place, or the things on my table were rearranged. It was as if someone was here and touched my things. I tried to talk to Grace multiple times to find out what was going on. But every time she answered irritably that no one was home when I was away. All this forced me to move on to specific measures. I installed surveillance cameras at home. They were secretive and unnoticeable that no one saw or knew them, including Grace herself. As sad as it was, I could no longer trust Grace. I hated myself for having these thoughts, but now I wasn't sure about her. The next time I went away for a few days on business, I kept thinking about what was happening at home. I couldn't wait to come home and watch the videotape. And now I was home. There was no one there, and I could calmly watch this video. I looked, but nothing happened. It was late afternoon. It was dark everywhere, no one was home. But suddenly the light came on. Someone came home. And soon I saw real horror. Grace literally stumbled home drunk, and with her was that little bastard William. They started licking each other right in the hallway and tore off each other's clothes. Within a moment they were fucking right on the floor, and then continued to do this in the kitchen, in the living room, and even in our bedroom. This little freak was wiping his dirty genitals with the sheets. I was incredibly angry. These bastards simply betrayed me. I wanted to chop them into small pieces. I called William and asked him to come see me. I prepared for his meeting. William came to my house and had absolutely no idea what awaited him. But I was already waiting for him with a rag soaked in chloroform. As soon as William walked deeper into the house, I ran up from behind and covered his mouth and nose with this rag. William's resistance did not last long. Soon his body went limp and fell to the floor, unconscious. I tied him up and dragged him into the room. Soon Grace appeared at home, who also faced the same fate. I knew what to do with these bastards. I dragged these unconscious bastards into my car. I arrived at a large local dam. Water flowed through the sluices in a huge stream and fell down like a stormy waterfall. These bastards woke up and saw in front of them a black abyss and a seething stream of water. "Jack, what are you doing? Are you crazy?" Grace screamed. "Mr. Jack, what are you doing?" "For what?" The frightened William was yelling. "Shut up, scum. Do you still have the nerve to ask? I know everything about you." "Jack, what are you thinking? Have you completely lost your mind?" Grace didn't confess until recently. "Grace, enough of this lie. You fuck like dirty dogs. Your lies won't save you." "Sorry, Jack, sorry about that. You're right, I deceived you. Just please let me go." Grace shouted. "How could you? You brought this bastard into our family. You made me treat him like my own son. What kind of creature are you? And you, William, I trusted you. I wanted you to become a real master. And you stuck a knife in my back." "Sorry, Mr. Jack. Excuse me. I don't know how it happened. I have no excuse, just don't kill, I beg you." Creatures. I almost went crazy from all these thoughts. And you both smiled at me, looked into my eyes, and pretended that nothing was happening. You will pay me for this. Before you is a seething abyss in which you both will soon find yourself. And no one will save you. I will not forgive such betrayal. You will pay me. "No, Jack, no, please. Do not do that." Grace screamed in hysterics. I didn't listen to the screams of those frightened bastards. I pushed them over the edge of the dam. They flew down screaming. But I didn't intend to kill them. I just wanted them to remember this horror for the rest of their lives. I tied them up with the rope I had prepared in advance. They were stuck in the middle of a raging stream. Then I pulled them back out. They spat out water and trembled with fear and cold. "I will leave you your miserable lives. I don't need your death. But you must understand that if you decide to cross my path again, I will destroy you. I advise you to take my words seriously. Now get out of here." I shouted and let those bastards go. They ran away in hysterics. I returned home. The wild pain of betrayal tore me apart. It was simply unbearable. My entire life, which I thought was perfect, turned out to be a terrible lie. I pulled myself together and began to work on my divorce from Grace. My lawyers carefully considered all options so that this beast would be left without a penny. Grace turned into a vengeful creature. She decided that she wanted to destroy me. She tried not only to rob me completely. Grace wanted to take my life so I could end up at the bottom. Divorce litigation was exhausting for me. But I wasn't going to give up. It was not enough for this creature that had almost ended up in a seething abyss. She ignored my words. This creature planted drugs in my home. The police detained me and found a considerable amount of drugs. This creature thought that victory was in her pocket, that she would take all my property, and I would rot behind bars. But she was wrong again. She never knew that there were hidden cameras in the house. I never removed them. And it was clearly visible how she made her way into the house and planted this nasty thing on me. As a result, this rabid bitch ended up behind bars herself. But prison life turned out to be unbearable for her, and she hanged herself in her own cell. As for William, this guy never became a master. I had a friend in the police who was involved in this case. He told me everything. William started cheating. He sold cheap counterfeits at the price of real precious metals, and soon karma caught up with him. The police did not have time to catch him immediately. He ran and hid. After some time, he was detained at the airport when he wanted to fly out of the country. He took one of the passengers hostage at gunpoint. But this desperation led to William receiving a bullet in the forehead from a policeman. This is where all this horror ended. I didn't know how to live further, because my entire planned life was now destroyed. It was just terrible. Emptiness and resentment were eating me up from the inside. But soon fate smiled on me, and I met Rachel. This wonderful woman came to me to order a personalized bracelet for her daughter. We started talking. It was extremely easy. We continued communicating, and before we even noticed, we started living together. This woman helped me get my life back. I let go of the past and now looked only forward, without looking back. Where the heck is that woman? I thought she was getting the kids ready for school today. The kids aren't up yet, fed, dressed, or ready for school, and I have to go. Emma, where are you? No answer. Great, she's not here. I went up to her bedroom, and sure enough, the room was empty. She hadn't come home again. This has to stop. So, you're asking yourself, what's going on? Where the hell is the mother? Why doesn't the father know where she is? Why did she not come home? That and lots of other questions. I suppose I have questions too, like how the hell did my life become this? You see, the answer is not simple and straightforward. It happened over a period of about 2 years, and now my life and our marriage have become a show that I have to quickly fix. I have to fix this for the benefit of my daughters. I have twin girls aged 6. They're in grade 1 at school. They are blonde-haired cuties who are my world. The mother of those twin cuties used to be my world. Used to be. Now, not so much. She has other priorities. She has a boyfriend now. She still thinks she's my wife and still calls this house her home. She spends little time here. Last week, she spent 2 nights here. When she is here, she sleeps in another bedroom now. I don't want her in the same bed with me if I can avoid it. I can't look at her anymore, not since her belly is almost 9 months pregnant. Her boyfriend is the father of the baby she's carrying. She's very proud of that fact. Emma works as a legal secretary for a large law firm. One of the lawyers at the firm, Gerald Evans, is her boyfriend and the father of the baby she's carrying. Evans is very successful, makes a ton of money, and has a wife and 3 kids of his own. Me, I'm John Stewart. I'm 32 years old and I'm a chartered accountant. I do mostly corporate audits and find places where companies can make improvements to how they do business in order to be more profitable. In reality, I do a lot of work to find ways for companies to avoid paying taxes. Most companies would rather spend $2 to avoid paying the government $1 in taxes. It's work that, to most, is mind-numbingly boring, but to my organized mind, it's interesting, and I get paid well, very well. Last year, I made just over $150,000 and usually get a 20% bonus on top of that. Emma is also well paid as a legal secretary and pulls in almost $70,000 a year. Her bonus isn't as much, but it's not bad all the same. We live in a nice 3-bedroom, 3-bath house in the suburbs with a small in-ground pool in the backyard. The mortgage is very manageable and will be paid off in about 6 years. I drive a Subaru Outback station wagon, and Emma has a VW Passat that I bought used for her 3 years ago. We live, or lived, a good life. That was until about 2 years ago. Now, well, how do I describe our life? My life is different. My wife is not really my wife anymore. She spends most of her time outside of work at the apartment that her lover owns. She started seeing Evans about 2 years ago. At first, it was spending extra hours at work, getting home late in the day. Then it was evening work, then weekend work, then trips away to meet clients. Then it became obvious. She just went out and told me not to wait up. Then she started spending all night out. I knew a long time ago that she was having an affair with Evans. She hid it poorly. I went to a divorce lawyer for some advice. The advice I got wasn't really advice, it was more a warning that I would get royally screwed over by the courts, that Emma would likely get custody of the girls and, because of that, the house. I would pay big to support everyone for many years to come, and Emma would get to screw around as much as she wanted to. I was a sucker, a chump. She screws around, and I pay for it. How fair is that? The courts don't give a damn about fairness. They follow the law, which says to divide things 50-50 unless there are kids, in which case they give the bulk of all family assets to the custodial parent, just because the custodial parent was the one that caused the marriage breakdown. Matters not one bit. Judges want to see cases get rubber stamped and move on to the next boring case. So I asked my lawyer, how do I come out of this on top? Well, it seems that there was no coming out of it on top, only coming out of it mildly singed, slightly burned, as it were. She was clear that the best plan was to do nothing and pretend that my loving wife was a loving wife. Right, like I was going to do that. When I left the lawyer's office, I was a bit numb. What the hell am I going to do? So I went back to work and sat in my office for the rest of the day, in a daze. I went home that night to be greeted by Emma, who was making dinner as if everything in her world was just fine, as if she was her former loving mother and wife self. I was greeted at the door with a kiss on the lips and the smell of food in the kitchen. The girls were working on a puzzle on the dining room table. Emma actually poured me a glass of wine and handed it to me. What the hell? This had to be some sort of ploy on her part. Sure enough, after supper and when the girls were in bed, she said, "Honey, we need to have a talk." It turned out that the talk was to tell me that she was pregnant by her lover, Evans. She was in love with him and was going to have his baby. "Are you leaving me?" I asked, with a hopeful but cautious tone. "Of course not, honey. I'm your wife. I love you very much. We have a family, and now it's going to get bigger." I was really hoping that the cheating skink was going to move out and go live with her lover. "So just how do you propose to deal with this baby?" "Well, the same way we dealt with it when I was pregnant with the girls, of course." The look on her face suggested she thought my question was odd. I was still very mystified. "So let me get this straight. You're pregnant by another man and plan to have his baby, and you think this child will happily become part of our family? Have I got that right so far?" "Well, of course, honey. Why wouldn't this child be part of our family? How stupid did this woman think I was? Clearly, she figured I was going to roll over and accept this child as my own. Well, that wasn't going to happen, no way. Jeepers. I guess it might have something to do with your long-term affair with Evans. It might have something to do with the fact that you were never here with your family. It might have something to do with the fact that you spend 3 nights a week and almost every weekend with your lover. It might have something to do with the fact that you have virtually ignored your daughters for the last year as you spent your nights with Evans. It might have something to do with the fact that you and I have not had a normal marriage for almost 2 years. I was shouting at this point, and my face was red. "Honey, calm down. Just because I haven't let you in my box since Gerald claimed me, remember that you have complete access to my mouth and bum anytime and as much as you want. I also had 2 wonderful children, and I fully plan to keep them." Over the next 6 months, Emma spent the majority of her time at Evan's apartment. She would come home from time to time, and that's when I would exact what little revenge I could. Emma wanted me to go with her to her prenatal appointments. I refused. Gerald Evans was the father, he could go with her. Somehow, in her confused mind, Emma thought I was going to capitulate and raise this child as my own. So I should just go along with her plan and do my fatherly duty. Nope. Things got really bad when Emma forgot all about her daughter's birthdays. In her crazed state, she forgot everything that I figured was important to her as a mother. I tried to remind her of the girl's birthday and even get her to commit to helping out with the party, but it didn't matter. Emma's lack of concern or care for her family was the deciding factor that made me want rid of her. I wanted her gone as soon as possible. The parents of the kids at the birthday party were quietly wondering where Emma was, and I got a few questions from some of the other mothers. They made it very clear that they thought it was highly unusual for a mother to miss her daughter's birthday party unless something serious was going on. I bit my tongue and made lame excuses for her. Emma had her baby. I went to the hospital with her that day only because her water broke while she was here at the house. The hospital delivery room staff were very surprised when the baby came out, and I could see the look on their faces as they got the baby situated, cleaned up, and wrapped up. The doctor looked at me with somewhat wide eyes, and the two nurses were giving furtive glances toward Emma. It seemed that the doctor and the nurses found it amusing that a biracial baby was born to two very white parents. You see, the father of the baby, Gerald Evans, is black. Now, I don't want to sound racist, but it's a quick lesson in marital fidelity. It's easy to see that the mother has been unfaithful and the husband is not the baby's father. Go figure. Once Emma and her baby were moved into a hospital room, I left. I had to go home and see my girls and tell them that they had a half-brother. The tricky part was telling them that their brother's father was not me, and whether it would matter to them. I also made a plan to ensure that Gerald Evans's wife was made aware that her husband was a new father and that her children had a new brother. That was going to be fun. Before leaving the hospital, I made sure to fill out the information for the child's birth certificate. I listed Emma as the mother and Gerald Evans as the father. The nurse took the form from me and looked at it. She thanked me, and as I was leaving, she called after me, "Mr. Evans? Mr. Evans?" I stopped and turned to her. "Sorry, I'm not Mr. Evans. My name is John Stewart. If you need information about Mr. Evans, you should ask Emma." I turned and walked away. The look on her face was priceless. After getting home, I called Evans and told him the good news: he was a father. I also asked him where he wanted me to deliver all of Emma's clothing and other things. There was dead silence on the other end of the phone. "Hello, Mr. Evans? Are you still there? Emma is at the General Hospital in the maternity ward, room 42, and I'm sure she's anxious for you to see your new son." He was less than happy to hear from me. "Who the hell is this and what do you want?" "Mr. Evans, I'm Emma's husband, John Stewart. You remember Emma? You work with her. You've been having an affair with her for over 2 years. You got her pregnant. Well, she just had the baby, your son." Again, more silence on the phone. "So, Mr. Evans, I need to know what your plans for Emma and your son are. I have things that I need to get done, and in order for me to do what I need to do, I need to know what you are going to do." More silence. "Okay, I guess I should call your wife and find out from her what your plan is. Goodbye." I was about to hang up when I heard a shouted response. Wait, just wait. What am I waiting for? Clearly, you know that I have a family. I'm not going to leave my wife and children for Emma and the kid. So what are you going to do, Mr. Evans?" "I don't know right now. I'll have to call you back. Just so you know, I've asked my lawyer to start paperwork for a divorce from Emma and to name you as a co-defendant for alienation of affection. I'm also going to sue you for a substantial amount of money to compensate me for the loss of family income and the services that Emma might have provided as a mother to my daughters in the future, until my girls turn 21 years of age." Evans was clearly sweating. He shouted into the phone again, "Wait. What is it that you want from me now?" I paused for a few seconds, looking for a tactical advantage. "What I really want, Mr. Evans, is for you to take Emma and your son and get them out of my house. I do not want her and your child any longer than absolutely necessary. Do you understand? What do you expect me to do?" "Well, Mr. Evans, you got her pregnant. Now you take responsibility for her. It's really simple. The cheating 304 is no longer my wife, at least she won't be after the divorce. What you do with her after that is your problem, not mine. Just get your 304 and your child out of my house and out of my life." I hung up. 10 minutes later, Evans called back. I let it go to voicemail. 2 days later, a cab pulled up outside the house, and Emma got out carrying her new son. She was pissed at me for not coming to the hospital to get her. "John, where the hell have you been? I had to take a cab home with our son. Why didn't you come to the hospital for us?" I stood just inside the front door and didn't move to take the child from her. If she wanted this kid, she and her lover could be the ones to take care of it. It's not my kid. My daughters were at school, and when they got home, they would be excited to see their half-brother. They would have a lot of questions about why he was so dark when they were white and blonde. This was going to be fun. "Honey, would you take the baby for me, please?" Emma said, as if she expected me to be the doting father to him just as I was with my daughters. No, you should call your lover, Gerald Evans, to come and do that for you. In fact, I think you should go live with him. Let me start packing a few things for you." I turned and walked away. I went to the garage, got a large suitcase, and pulled it inside and up the stairs. Emma didn't have time to see what I was doing, as she was busy with the baby. About an hour later, I came downstairs, parked the packed suitcase by the door, and announced, "Okay, it's ready to go as soon as you are." Emma tried her best to ignore me and the suitcase. I wasn't about to give up. "Where do you want me to send the rest of your things, Emma?" "What the hell are you talking about, John? And why is that suitcase by the front door?" "I'm talking about you. I'm talking about how you made the decision to get pregnant by your lover. I'm talking about how you stopped being my wife. I'm talking about divorce. I'm talking about you getting your 304 bum out of this house now. That's what I'm talking about. Get out and take your kid with you." I was shouting at her. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm your wife and you're my husband. This child is ours. You might not have provided the sperm to make him, but you are his father. I'm not leaving this house." This was going to be more difficult than I had thought. Time to roll out the big guns. In this case, they're little guns but powerful nonetheless. Right on time, the school bus deposited my daughters at the curb. I took their hands, and as we walked to the house, I told them that their mother had a surprise for them. They knew she was going to have a baby and were very excited. The girls ran into the house to see their half-brother. They marveled at his features and especially his color. "Mommy, why is he so dark? You, Daddy, and us are all very light." Emma avoided the question, so I jumped in. "Well, girls, Mommy has a boyfriend besides me. He's the daddy of your half-brother. Mommy likes her boyfriend so much that she wanted to have a baby with him. Her boyfriend is a black man that she works with. That's why this baby has dark skin." I let that sink in for a minute. Mommy and her baby might go live with her boyfriend. They both looked at me. "Are we going to live with her boyfriend too, Daddy?" "No, girls. The two of you are going to live right here with me. We are not moving." They looked visibly relieved. They had come to expect that their mother wasn't going to be around much. For the last 2 years, I had pretty much been a single father to them. It took a couple of days to convince Emma and her lover that it was in their best interests for Emma and her baby to move into the love nest that she routinely occupied with Evans. The convincing argument came when I told Evans that he had 2 hours to get her out, or my next call and visit would be to Mrs. Evans. That seemed to push things along. Emma grudgingly packed some things in addition to the suitcase I had stuffed full of her belongings and drove herself and her child to the apartment she shared with Evans. All the while, she was trying to remind me that she loved me and that her plan was for us to grow old together and raise our family. Somehow, in the dark recesses of her mind, she failed to understand that I was not going to raise the child of another man, at least not willingly. Besides, I had plans of my own. For the last few months, while Emma had been sharing Gerald Evans's bed, I had been working to make a life for myself. I knew my marriage was over, and I had to end things in a way that wouldn't leave me living in a cardboard box under a bridge, all while paying for Emma to enjoy her life with Evans. That wasn't part of my plan. When Evans got her pregnant, it gave me exactly what I needed. A bit about me: I'm far from perfect, but I'm no loser. I'm 5 feet 11 inches tall, weigh about 165 pounds, and I run and cycle for exercise and recreation. I don't play golf, it's too boring and pointless, and I couldn't care less about hitting a small white ball with an overpriced stick just to get it in a hole in the ground. I like to use my body to work up a sweat and get my frustrations out. I had been doing a lot of both running and cycling lately, since frustration was my middle name. I had a number of reliable babysitters in the area that I could call upon to look after my girls so I could get out and exercise. There were also a couple of neighbors who had noticed that Emma had all but left us and had quietly offered their help with minding the girls if I needed a break. My cycling group proved to be a godsend. I met a woman named Andrea there, and we struck up a friendship and then began to date. Initially, she was wary of getting involved in my situation with Emma, but when I explained my plan and confided in her that Emma was pregnant and wanted to have another man's baby, she understood that the end of my marriage was near. Andrea had even spent the night at my house a few times, met my girls, and gone on a few outings with us together. She's a 14th grade teacher, divorced, and doesn't have any children yet. My girls took to her right away and actually saw more of her in the last few months than they had of their mother. When it came time to serve the divorce paperwork on Emma, the documents were served at the Love Nest. I had Evans served at his house. His wife was there when the server came to the door. She took the papers and immediately opened them. I heard that things were a bit tense in the Evans household for a few days. Evans was holed up in the Love Nest with Emma and his new son, while Mrs. Evans had her lawyer work on putting the screws to her husband. I was suing him for just over $1.75 million for lost family income and the increased costs I would incur from not having a wife, as well as for the money that Emma might reasonably be considered to contribute to the university costs for my daughters. I didn't mention the baby, that was pointless. Emma called me repeatedly to tell me that she loved me and wanted to come home. She said that this was all just a big misunderstanding and that her time with Evans was never meant to be long-term, it was just a phase, and now it was over. We could get back to being a family again. I asked if Evans was keeping the baby. She gave no answer to that question. I had changed all the locks on the house and programmed a new garage code so there wouldn't be any surprises with Emma and her child suddenly arriving. My lawyer called and said that Evans's lawyer wanted a meeting to discuss a settlement. When we sat down at the table, Evans was actually there. It seemed he was willing to offer me $50,000 if I would drop the suit and take Emma back. When asked if he was keeping the child he fathered with Emma, there was dead silence from his side of the table. His lawyer piped up, saying it would be highly inappropriate to separate a mother from her child and that was not their intent. I responded before my lawyer could say anything, "You fail to realize that I am not prepared to act as the father of a child that is not mine. Mr. Evans fathered the child, Mr. Evans can keep the child. If the child's mother is part of that package, then so be it." My lawyer smirked at Evans's lawyer. "Take that." So we went back and forth over the next few months. Eventually, Evans settled for $250,000 to make the whole nasty issue go away. My divorce from Emma was finalized, and I received full custody of my daughters. I agreed to liberal, even unsupervised, visitation for Emma. I knew she loved the girls, and they, in their own way, loved her. My daughters grew even closer to Andrea over the months, and we got engaged just as we discovered she was pregnant. I sold the house, and we moved to a slightly bigger one. The money from the lawsuit was invested to ensure a good education for all my children. Emma and her lover eventually ended their affair, mostly at the urging of Mrs. Evans. She threatened to take him to the proverbial cleaners. It seemed she was well connected in the community through her family and could bring significant pressure to ensure that Gerald toed the line in the future. Emma kept her job at the law firm, and so did Evans. I bumped into Emma downtown a couple of months after the divorce was final. We actually had coffee and talked. I wanted to ask her a very simple question: why? Why did she need to have sex with another man? Was I that bad a husband, or was she that bad a wife? She was a bit more honest in her answers than before. For her, it was about having sex with a black man, and she wanted him to dominate her. She admitted that she had a fetish for black men and had never acted on it before. Evans was highly attractive to her and easily got her to have sex. She was convinced that she was in love with him and that having his baby was the right thing to do. Emma was living with her son in a 2-bedroom apartment. She saw her daughters every few weeks and took them to do things with their half-brother. The girls thought he was a cute baby and enjoyed their time with him. Andrea and I bought a cottage on a lake, began a renovation project, and planned to spend our summers there. Our new daughter was born. Evans came out of this mess largely intact but sufficiently burned by his wife that he is unlikely to have a wandering eye, at least for a while. I would like to think that he and Emma felt the full force of my revenge, but that would be overstating things a bit. My daughters and I came away from the disaster with a feeling that we were lucky to escape without too much trouble. We were doubly lucky to find a great woman to start a new life and bigger family with. Is this a happy ending? For me, it was. For Emma, I don't know. For Evans, it was costly in terms of money, but he could afford it. That's the reality of life. There are no ultimate winners or ultimate losers, just survivors. Now, for the second story. Trisha, my sexy, beautiful wife, was extra playful this evening. As we sat on the couch after dinner, she jumped on my lap, started giving me kisses and hugs, and was much more playful than usual. My name is Jacoby, but my friends call me Jay. I fell in love with Trisha over 5 years ago and just celebrated our 4th wedding anniversary last month. We met right after I was discharged from the Marines. During my time in the Marines, I got into weight training and self-defense in a big way. I spent the last year as a drill instructor, helping recruits become tough, field-ready soldiers. It was fun, but I wasn't destined to be in the military for my entire life. I had plans, and after I got out, I started my own gym and health trainer business with the money I had saved from my 4 years of service. The business took off quickly, and I dedicated all of my time to growing the business and helping others. Being 6 feet 4 inches and 255 pounds of muscle, I gave customers confidence that I could help them change their bodies. I loved watching people come in unsure of themselves and watching them flourish into self-confident, strong individuals. 6 months later, Trisha, the sister of one of my clients, and I immediately hit it off. We made a funny-looking couple, as Trisha is 5 feet 4 inches, a foot shorter, and 145 pounds lighter, at just 110 pounds. She was thin, fragile, and innocent at the age of 22. I was 26 at the time and had much more life experience than this innocent little girl. She was not into training, but we loved doing things together in every free moment. We became exclusive, and our romance turned into marriage a year later. Our sexual bond was strong, and we enjoyed our lovemaking and sex. To be honest, she was the best lover I had ever been with. Trisha was always attentive, loving, and uninhibited in bed. She met all of my needs, and I loved her with all my heart. Her playfulness and innocence are 2 of the things I adore about her. Someone meeting her for the first time might think she's flighty or a dumb blonde, but very lovable. Don't get me wrong, she is very intelligent. However, she does lack common sense, which I find endearing at times. As you might imagine, being a health trainer with a hard body and good looks to match, I constantly get propositioned by the ladies I train. It's a constant battle to keep things under control with these women. I even had to install video cameras throughout the gym to protect myself from any claims of sexual assault from one of the girls I turned down. Sometimes, they got angry when I rejected their advances. I had heard about some vengeful women making false claims and needed to protect my business and my reputation. I set up the cameras with a remote to my home so Trisha can look in on me whenever she likes. Trisha knows how committed I am to her, and I make sure to let her know how much I love her sexually. My size and power may be too much for her, but she never complained. Financially, we are in good shape since my business has grown nicely, and Trisha works as a real estate agent to provide extra income. Last Sunday afternoon, we were relaxing in the living room with a bottle of wine, and Trisha was more playful than usual. She was all giggles, jumped on my lap, giving me kisses, and acting like a high school girl. I had to admit I love the attention when she acts like this. She always knows how to make me feel loved. Things took a very fast turn for our relationship when the reason for her playfulness and extra love was revealed. As she was rubbing her hands through my hair, she smiled at me with that smile that always melts my heart and calmly said, "Sweetheart, Brian is taking me out to dinner next Friday night. You're okay with that, right?" It actually took me over a minute to compute what she had just said. I was sure I didn't hear her correctly and just enjoyed that wonderful smile. When I didn't respond, she asked again in a sweet voice, "You don't mind, right?" "Trisha, what are you asking me?" "I'm sorry, I don't understand." "Oh, silly Brian from the office asked me out for dinner next Friday, and I kind of told him yes." My mind now heard what she said and understood the meaning but was sure I was misunderstanding what she was asking. "Are you asking me if you can go out with Brian for dinner next week? Like a date?" "Not a date, really. Just dinner and maybe a movie." I sat there for a long moment with my mouth open, not believing that my faithful wife, the love of my life, was asking me if it was okay for her to go on a date with another guy. "Trisha, that is the definition of a date. Do you want to do that? Go out with another guy? He's such a nice guy, and we get along so well at the office. He makes me laugh and feel good all the time. I don't consider it a date, more like drinks after work, but in this case, dinner and a movie. My head was spinning. Surely she could understand what she was asking, but I don't think she understood. Trisha, you know I've never gone out with another woman or even thought about it. How can you want to go out with another guy? Jay, don't be jealous. He's nothing like you, and it's just one night. I will only love you when I don't feel anything for him, but I want to do this. I already told him yes. I hope you're not mad. I wasn't mad. Mad was a much smaller word for how I felt at that moment. Fortunately, all of my military training allowed me to remain calm as I assessed the situation and quickly came up with an idea. Oh, you already accepted? I get it now, I said, picking up my cell phone and searching for the number of one of the ladies who had been after me for several months. With Trisha still on my lap and playing with my hair, I dialed the phone. Hi, Angel, this is Jay, I said as I watched my wife's face looking confused. I'm good, thanks. Listen, is that offer still open for Friday night? It is. Great. My wife, well, she just told me that she wanted an open marriage, and I immediately thought of you. That will be fun. I'll see you this week, and we can plan it out. Bye. Trisha had stopped rubbing my hair and looked at me with squinted eyes. Who's Angel? One of my clients. We get along really well, and she makes me laugh, so we're going to go out on Friday night, just like you. Oddly, she was instantly pissed, jumped off my lap, and started screaming at me. I could not believe that she didn't see the hypocrisy of her actions. I just listened as she continued to scream at me. I can't believe you're going with some girl, probably a 304. I won't stand for you cheating on me and going with other girls, Jay. Trying not to laugh, I said, but it's okay for you to go out with a guy from work. It's different. How is it different? It was just a night together for some fun. Well, that's what I'll be doing as well. Listen, Trisha, I have never wanted to be with another woman until you just told me a minute ago that you wanted to be with another man. Do you really think I would allow you to go on a date and just sit here alone? She looked at me as if she had just lost her favorite puppy. I continued, you started this, and we're going to finish it. You will go on your date with Brian, and I'll be on a date with Angel. Whatever happens, happens. I hope we can remain faithful and stay married after Friday night. I'll be sleeping in the guest room, and sex between us is out of the question until I decide if I want to stay married to you. The thought of you wanting to be with another man hurts me too much to even want to touch you right now. I feel nothing for you. Trisha was crying and angry at the same time. Usually, I would have held her and tried to comfort her, but not after this. I waited a few minutes for her to calm down and continued, next week, you and I are going to counseling to figure out why I'm not enough for you. Maybe, just maybe, if you can make me understand why I'm not enough for you, then perhaps we can stay married. But let me make it clear, whatever happens now is all on you. The thought of you even wanting to be with another man makes me want to divorce you this instant. But I'm mature enough to work through this. Depending on what happens Friday night and how we feel after going out with other people will determine our future. Just remember, Trisha, whatever happens is all on you and your decision to go on that date with Brian. I have no intention of canceling my plans, and you'll have to live with the outcome, whatever that may be. Still crying and confused, she didn't say anything and left the room. About 10 minutes later, I heard her on the phone with her sister, which I anticipated. I guess her sister told her she was out of her mind because an hour later, she came back to me acting sweet and innocent again. However, I was on guard and would not allow her attempts at manipulation to work on me. Sweetheart, I might have made a mistake about going out with Brian. I'm going to cancel it. I don't want to be with anyone else. That's up to you, Trisha, but you've already started something that I intend to finish. You can go out or stay home, but I'm not canceling my date with Angel. You already told me how much you wanted this and purposely hurt me. The only way out for me now is to see where this leads. Maybe you're right, and we need to start dating other people and have a real open marriage. You need to understand that there are always consequences for your choices. This was your decision, and remember, it was you who accepted his date before you spoke with me. That hurt, and I can't forgive that. She tried to explain things again. Jay, it wasn't a date. You need to believe me. It was an after-hours thing. It's not that important. I'll cancel it. We can just go out together Friday night. I ignored her, grabbed a beer, and headed out to the patio for some peace. I slept in the guest room that night and the rest of the week after listening to Trisha crying all evening. The next day, I got a call from her sister Helen. "Jay, are you really going out with another woman this week? You can't do that to Trisha. She loves you so much." "Helen, clearly you don't know the entire situation or weren't told the whole story. Your little sister accepted a date from a coworker without even discussing it with me. She came home and announced she was going to go on this date without caring about my feelings or our marriage. I am definitely going to go on a date, and we will see where we are afterward. I've been monogamous and never even thought of being with another woman since the day I met your sister. Truthfully, I love her more than anything, but I'm not sure I want to stay married to a woman who wants other men. That's going to be hard to get past. Do you understand?" "I understand that, Helen." "Yes, Jay, I do. I didn't realize she was that stupid. Please be patient with her. She probably doesn't even realize she's hurting you and thinks it's no big deal." "Helen, I am being patient. I haven't kicked her out yet, but she will have to live with the consequences, wherever they lead." Helen did talk with Trisha again and finally made her understand what she had done to our relationship and how serious her decision to date another man was to our marriage and my feelings. Trisha apologized and begged me to reconsider and cancel our dates. However, I was on a mission now to even things up, let her see what she had done, and find out if we would stay together. Hearing your wife wants to date another man is something I hope no other man has to experience, and please don't judge my decisions until you have had that happen to you. If it does, tell me how I should remain patient and forgiving. No way. I made plans to have Angel pick me up that night because I wanted her to meet my wife and make sure she knew it was okay to go out with a married man. Friday night, even though she didn't want to go out with her work buddy, I insisted she live up to her commitment with her boyfriend. She didn't like me calling him her boyfriend and tried to reassure me that he was only a friend. Trisha was dressed nicely for her date with Brian. She wore a cute dress and looked her usual pretty self. At least she didn't try to dress provocatively for this date, which gave me a little hope for us. She was nervous about meeting Angel, but I insisted she meet my date here to reassure her that we now have an open marriage. She argued with me about the open marriage, but I ignored her. I was being a jerk, but in my mind, it was all justifiable. Trisha's eyes widened when Angel arrived at 6 p.m. Angel was the total opposite of Trisha. While Trisha was petite, Angel was 5 feet 10 inches and in great shape from all the training. Her ample figure was spilling out of her dress, and she looked incredible standing next to me. I wore a tight-fitting sports jacket that revealed my muscular body. I even had Trisha take a few photos of us together before we left, which really pissed her off. We made a good-looking couple and could have been posing for the cover of a sports magazine. I saw Trisha seething with anger and jealousy, but there was nothing she could do. She finally realized that she might have uncorked a bottle she may not be able to close. I was laughing inside when I introduced them and heard Angel say, "Trisha, it's so nice to meet you. Jay told me all about your open marriage, and I'm happy for you. I've been after this hunk of a man for the last year, and I was so excited when he called me on Sunday. I heard you also have a new boyfriend. Good for you." I could see Trisha's head about to burst into flames, but she couldn't reply quickly enough because the doorbell rang and she realized it was Brian. She got all nervous as I opened the door and let him in. I was a little surprised to see who she was going out with. Brian was maybe 5 feet 7 inches and almost as tall as Trisha in her 4-inch heels. He was not an attractive man. I had no idea what she was thinking. He weighed maybe 150 pounds, was losing his hair, and clearly not a physical threat but still posed a problem in our relationship. I think the poor guy was going to piss his pants when he saw my massive body towering over him. His hand felt small, cold, and clammy as I gave him a bone-crushing handshake for fun. "My wife is ready for your date night. Have fun." He just nodded and looked over at Trisha for help. Angel and I laughed as we left, and I knew Trisha was going to lose her mind. I didn't feel bad for 1 second and hoped this would end well. When we got home around 6 a.m. the next morning, Angel dropped me off. We had a very warm and lingering goodnight kiss in the driveway, which I was sure Trisha had seen from the window. Angel and I had a nice dinner, a night of dancing at one of her favorite clubs, a walk on the beach after the club closed, and then breakfast before she drove me home. It was an interesting night. She was fun to be with, a great dancer, had a great sense of humor, was sexy as hell, and a spectacular kisser. We didn't go any further than a kiss, but there was a chemistry that I knew could lead to a very exciting relationship. However, Trisha was the only thing on my mind that entire night. When we were dancing, I thought about my wife. When we were on the beach, it brought back memories of Trisha and me in Hawaii. Every moment, except for the goodnight kiss, was filled with thoughts of Trisha. With a happy and sad heart, I walked into my house wondering if it would ever be my home again. Trisha was up waiting for me when I walked into the house. As soon as she saw me, I was greeted with a nice kiss. "What else did you do all night?" Ignoring her remark, I said, "Good morning, Trisha. How was your date? Brian seems to be a nice guy." "Did you screw her?" she asked in an angry voice. "Trisha, it was only our first date. You should know me better than that." "First date? Are you seeing her again?" "I don't know." "Are you seeing your boyfriend again?" "Of course not. I don't want him. I want you." "Well, you wanted him last week. What changed?" I realized that I was an idiot and thought I could go out and just have fun with a guy, just like I would with one of my girlfriends. You know, just hang out. "But you had to take out that supermodel and shove it in my face," she said, crying into one of the tissues that littered the couch. She must have been there all night, crying and waiting for me to return. It was clear that she now understood what she had done, and perhaps she did consider him just someone to hang out with, like she would with one of her girlfriends. I mean, the guy wasn't a threat, and I may have overreacted. I'm still stunned to think that any woman could believe a husband would be okay with letting his wife go out with another guy, even if it was innocent. I took her in my arms and held her close. "Trisha, I love you, but I cannot live with a woman who wants to be with other men for any reason. I will not put up with cheaters, and if it happens again, if you lie to me or do it behind my back, I will kick you out and divorce you on the spot. Do you understand?" She threw her arms around me and kissed me. "Yes, baby, I would never cheat on you, and I never wanted to be with anyone else but you." This was different. "You still didn't tell me how your date with Brian went. What happened?" "It wasn't a date. What you did with that Barbie doll was a date. We had dinner, but he was so shaken up after seeing you and hurting his hand that he took me home right after dinner. It wasn't fun, and I had a terrible time. He dropped me off before 8 p.m., and I've been here thinking about what you were doing with her all night." Seeing you kiss her like that, she started sobbing again. I held her again and told her everything would be fine. I did laugh to myself thinking about the guy meeting her muscle man husband after I shook his hand. I was fairly sure he was going to be a gentleman that night, which was another reason I waited to meet him before Angel and I left. "Trisha, let's forget about last night for now, but I'm serious about counseling. I still need to understand some things, and you also need to understand my feelings. If we can get through that and I can trust you again, then I won't see Angel or any of the other women who continue to ask me out." Her eyes widened when she realized Angel was not the only threat. We spent the day in bed making sweet love and getting reacquainted. I started sleeping back in my own bed and began the path back to sanity. Counseling was the answer to our situation. Mrs. Williams was empathetic and nurturing. She actually had to explain to Trisha how her actions made me feel insignificant and hurt. Trisha didn't view Brian as a man but only as a friend. She tried to explain that she never said it was a date, just a night out with her friend Brian. She argued that it wasn't any different than her doing the same thing with one of her girlfriends. Mrs. Williams finally helped Trisha understand that in a monogamous relationship, you don't spend time with other men and neglect your husband. Trisha tried to complain about how vindictive I was for dating someone who was clearly much sexier and better looking. She said it wasn't fair and that it wasn't right. Mrs. Williams explained things from my point of view and offered some viewpoints that calmed her down. When it was my turn to speak, I explained that I now understood what her intentions were, but I still could not accept her spending time with other men. I looked at Trisha and, in a loud tone, said, "Trisha, I love you, and you broke my heart when you told me you were going out with Brian. My fight-or-flight military training kicked in, and I decided to fight. If you were going to see other men, then I would respond by dating other women. I never wanted to do that, and I regret that it happened, but this was on you. In the future, if you do something like that again, you will have divorce papers within a week. I will not put up with a cheating wife. I understand that you didn't consider this a date, which is why I'm willing to work on our marriage. But don't ever try that again. Everyone was quiet after that outburst, and things changed. Trisha became more in tune with my feelings, and we talked more, turning this ridiculous event into a stronger marriage. We continued therapy for several months and found new ways to keep each other as our main focus in the relationship. Angel was understanding and even called Trisha to tell her she would back off and not pursue her husband, but if she ever wanted to leave him, she would be happy to step in. Trisha realized what she had and how quickly she could lose me to another woman. She never again gave me a reason to be jealous or even think about being with another man. She now understood the meaning of a date and that there are consequences for poor choices. Brian and Trisha remained friends, but Brian was too scared to make another move or be more than friends at work. I realized that sometimes women can't understand normal thinking. Story 2. In my family, there were never any unusual problems. Occasionally, we argued, but we always made amends. Mostly, we lived harmoniously, supporting each other. I worked in the rescue service. My job always involved life-threatening risks. However, I always approached my duties responsibly, as human lives depended on my actions. There were many challenging situations at work, but I never backed down. I enjoyed my job and my life, and I didn't want to change anything. I had a wife, Rachel, with whom we raised a wonderful daughter, Jennifer, who was already 25 years old. Jennifer was pursuing a successful legal career. I invested a lot of effort and money in her education, and Jennifer did not disappoint us. She was our pride. My wife worked as a saleswoman in a lighting store. She had an excellent understanding of the products and could find the most suitable options for any customer. Initially, we lived in an apartment. But I always dreamed of a private house. Somehow, I successfully acquired a cottage near a lake. It was a small house without special living conditions, but I constantly worked on it. I made extensions, beautified the area, and installed all the necessary utilities. It was my favorite pastime, a hobby. It turned out quite well. Now it was a large, comfortable house with many rooms. And now we lived here. Our daughter no longer lived with us. She moved to the big city and pursued her own affairs. Meanwhile, Rachel and I continued to enjoy life in our cozy home. And everything was fine with us until my wife began to think about various ways to multiply our capital. Initially, I didn't pay much attention to it. It didn't seem serious to me. But my wife delved deeper into this topic. "Michael, this is a great idea, you just don't understand," Rachel said. "I agree with you only in that I really don't understand. But I understand that this is most likely another scam you want to get involved in. Nothing in life comes easy and simple, Rachel. Michael, you're falling behind in modern life. There are plenty of tools now that can easily multiply your capital. Darling, capital multiplies only for those who created these tools. They are the ones profiting from people like us. And you'll just lose everything. I don't think you understand this well. You'll be deceived and left with nothing. Michael, you don't understand. There are many educational organizations that explain everything in detail and guarantee success. It's a very profitable business. If we invested your savings, the amount would grow significantly in a very short time. Rachel, just listen to yourself. You're not young anymore, you should have your wits about you. Think, I'm asking you, right now, you're reasoning like a schoolchild who decided to find an easy way to get rich. It's simply ridiculous. I'm not going to get involved in these unclear things and risk my money. Michael, I didn't decide on this right away. I read a lot of information, studied many facts. Many people are involved in this now. It's an excellent way to earn money. Rachel, I don't understand what you don't like about our life. We have enough money. We're not in poverty. Everything is good for us. And yet, amidst all this, you're suggesting some dubious scheme. Michael, everything is quite transparent here. Yes, we have money, and we live very well. But we can live even better. I want to change something in my life. I'm tired of doing the same thing. I want to try myself in this business. It's just like ordinary sales. You buy company shares cheaper and sell them for a higher price. You just need to analyze the market correctly, and you can learn that. Rachel, wake up. Maybe someone does earn this way, but you shouldn't get involved in this. Try something simpler, more understandable for you. You don't necessarily have to get into this dubious business. Do you want to invite trouble? It's just shameless deceit. You can't consider yourself smarter than everyone else. That's how people get burned. I can't believe I have to convince you of this. It's all just shameless lying. And it's thanks to people like you that these scammers make money. If it were truly a working scheme where anyone could earn, they wouldn't publicize it like this. Many wealthy people keep their success a secret. Only a few disclose it, and only because they want to make even more money from that information. It doesn't work like this, Rachel. I don't believe you're so stubborn. If you don't try, then nothing will work out for sure. You need to act. Rachel, if you've read smart quotes, it's still not a guarantee of success. I understand everything, but you're getting into a rather risky business. They won't let you earn here. And I'm not going to participate in this. I'm telling you seriously. Stop messing with nonsense. There are many other more realistic ways to earn. You can change something in your life if you want, but don't deceive yourself. All this is just a facade, and you should understand that. Don't ask me anymore. I just don't want to hear about it. Rachel literally drove me crazy. She had ingrained this obsessive idea in her head and refused to let go of it. I tried every way to convince her that it was all just a scam. It's not worth getting involved in. But Rachel wouldn't listen to me. She continued to delve into all of it. Soon, she started attending some courses. This started to seriously worry me. Rachel began to change. She became obsessed. I was very concerned for her and didn't know what to do. The longer it went on, the less time she spent at home. One evening, I returned home and saw an expensive SUV parked outside. I walked in and saw a young guy at the table who couldn't have been more than 20 years old. Michael, come in, meet Stephen, my personal tutor, Rachel said. Mr. Michael, nice to meet you. Rachel told me a lot of good things about you. Stephen said. All right, but this is the first time I'm hearing about you, Stephen. If Rachel did talk about me, she should know that I absolutely do not approve of what you people are doing. Yes, Mr. Michael, I understand that. Rachel told me about it. I came to explain to you how everything works. So, this is what it's come to? Stephen, you filled my wife's head with nonsense, and now you've come to my house to prove something to me? Michael, please, calm down. Let Stephen explain everything to you. Please, listen to him, Rachel intervened. I just can't believe my ears. Why do I need all this? This is like some kind of cult. I was already furious. Mr. Michael, don't be so categorical. I came just to get to know you and talk with you. I really offer you a real opportunity to earn. This is exactly what you need. I'll explain how it works, and you'll see that there is a real opportunity to make money here. Stephen, excuse me, but I have no intention of listening to lectures from a greenhorn teaching me about life. I don't need this at all. I'm smart enough not to fall for it. I don't need you to tell me anything or prove anything. I'm not interested. I parried his remarks. Mr. Michael, I'm not offended by you, and I understand your reaction. Your wife asked me to do this, and I want to convey this to you. Your wife can become an excellent specialist in this. She can really make a huge capital if you invest money in her business. You won't regret it. Just listen to me. He kept convincing me. Yeah, I see, kid, you've got some nerve. But I'll say it one last time. Lift your skinny butt and get out of my house before I call the police. I shouted and clenched my palms into fists menacingly. Frightened, Stephen caught my gaze and understood it was better not to continue. He hastily gathered his things and left. "Michael, what the hell are you doing?" Rachel asked angrily. "Rachel, why did you bring this swindler into our home? Have you lost your mind?" "Stephen is not a swindler. He's a promising young man who wants to share his knowledge with us, and you kicked him out. You saw the car he came in?" "Yes, I saw that car, but who knows where he got it? He probably just borrowed it to make an impression and nothing more. You just amazed me. Have you completely lost touch with reason? Did you bring this little jerk here to squeeze money out of me? Have you gone mad?" "Michael, calm down. Why are you so stubborn? He just wants to share his knowledge with us, and you kicked him out. Who asked you to improve anything? I like everything as it is. You're obsessed with this stupid idea. You just don't look like yourself anymore. This has gone beyond all bounds of common sense. I'm telling you seriously. Stop doing this. These bastards just suck money out of gullible people. And you fell for their hook. I don't recognize you. You've stopped communicating with me normally. You're just risking everything for who knows what." I didn't know how to change her mind anymore and just yelled at her. "Michael, you're just unbearable. I don't want to talk to you anymore and listen to your moralizing. You've said enough today," Rachel said and went into another room. It was just some kind of madness. The daughter also tried to convey to her mother that this was all a hoax. But Rachel didn't want to listen to anyone. I no longer knew where she was or with whom. This had to be dealt with radically. And I decided to follow Rachel. I wanted to know where she spends her evenings and what she does. I took a day off from work to do this. In the evening, Rachel got ready and went to her courses. She called a taxi and went. I quickly got into my car and followed her. It was a rather cold winter evening. It was heavy snow, and the road was quite hard to see. But I still followed the taxi. I thought that we would drive up to some business center or office building where these bastards are doing their shady business. But we moved further and further away from the city. We arrived at a small recreation complex. I sat in the car and thought, what was Rachel doing here? What kind of seminars can be held here? All this was very alarming. After sitting in the car for a while, I got out and walked to this place. I looked around the area and approached a small house where light was streaming out of the windows. Apparently, it was a sauna. I looked out the window and simply couldn't believe my eyes. That little bastard, Stephen, fucked my wife right in the sauna. I just went wild with anger. I knocked down the door and rushed inside. I threw Rachel away and attacked the little bastard. "Oh, you bitch. So you're also fucking my wife? I'll kill you, scum." I screamed and grabbed the neck of this little asshole. "Michael, you will kill him, let him go." "Wait!" A frightened Rachel screamed. I slammed my fist into the bastard's jaw, causing him to simply lose consciousness and fall. "Shut up, creature. So this is what you do? I can't believe it. What a scum you are. You're fucking that little bastard." "Sorry, Michael, sorry. Things have really gone too far. I don't know how I agreed to all this. I just do not know. It's my fault, Michael, forgive me, forgive me." Rachel made excuses. "Shut up, creature, shut up." Now I suddenly began to understand everything. Well, of course. But it's too late now, bastard. Both of you will pay me for this deception, for this betrayal," I said and left the sauna. I propped the door so the creatures wouldn't escape. I walked to my car, where I had an axe and rope hidden. I really needed these things right now. I went back to the sauna and tied up those bastards. There was a river flowing near the sauna. The frost was severe, and ice had already covered the surface of this river. I pulled these bastards onto the ice and started cutting a hole in front of their eyes. "Michael, what are you doing? What are you thinking?" Rachel screamed in hysterics. "After a good sauna you can cool down. Now you will feel the contrast," I answered. "Mr. Michael, please, no, I beg you. No need. Stephen whined. "Shut up, you little bastard. You will answer me for everything. Now both of you will fall into this hole, and the current will carry you under the ice. You will die in horror and darkness. And no one will save you." "No, Michael, please. No need, forgive me, have mercy. I beg you. I don't want to die. No. Do not do that," Rachel yelled. "Mr. Michael, I will give you everything. I will give you everything I have. I will do whatever you say. Please don't do this," Stephen begged. But I was relentless. I silently pushed these naked bastards into the hole and plunged my head under the freezing water. The current quickly picked them up and carried them under the ice into a black, cold abyss. It was dark, and these creatures did not see that I had tied an additional rope to their legs. And I tied the other end of the rope to my car. I gave these bastards a little time to feel all this horror. And then he suddenly got into the car and pulled them out onto land. They coughed up water and trembled in horror. They couldn't say a word. "Now listen to me, creatures. I set you free. But this does not mean that I forgive you. I will leave you your miserable lives. But remember that if you ever find yourself in my life again, I will simply destroy you. You will feel horror that you did not even know about, and I am not joking now," I said, and threw them their dry things. These bastards started running, putting on their things as they went. They will definitely remember this evening forever. And I returned to my car and drove home. When my rage and anger subsided a little, I felt severe pain from this betrayal. The person with whom I connected my life betrayed me, mixed my feelings with crap, and didn't care about me. It just didn't fit in my head. But I understood that this was not the end. Those bastards were terrified, but I couldn't count on them to calm down. I gathered my will into a fist and began to divorce my wife. I found good specialists who took up this matter. And I was right. My wife was afraid to appear on the threshold of my house, but she decided to take away as much property as possible from me. Apparently that little shit, Stephen, decided to put pressure on her to siphon off my money. But my lawyers didn't give this brute a single chance. I won the case, and this insignificant creature was left with nothing. After some time, I found out that this little bastard stole the rest of Rachel's property and disappeared. But Rachel continued her unlucky lifestyle. This situation taught her nothing. Rachel began attending noisy parties. She acted like a teenager. And one day a misfortune happened. Rachel was at a party that took place on the roof of a tall hotel. She got pretty drunk and fell off the roof. Doctors were unable to bring her back to life. And this bastard, Stephen, was soon caught by the police. A huge network of fraud was revealed, and this bastard was sent to prison. My friend, David, had good friends in the police, and he told me all this. Stephen was put behind bars. This little bastard turned in all his schemes and all his backers in order to reduce his prison sentence. But that didn't save him. Apparently, these bad people decided to take revenge and found a way to do it even in prison. Stephen was found completely cut up in his cell. And so this dark story ended. I wasn't happy that those bastards were dead. I just wanted to forget this whole horror, all this deception. I was no longer young, but I still decided to continue my work. I once saved a woman named Amanda from a burning house. This woman gave me back hope for a new life. After this incident, she decided to thank me with dinner, after which we continued to communicate. This communication grew into a real relationship, which I no longer hoped for. Now Amanda and I live together. Together with her, I received a new, happier life, in which there were no more dark days.